I called off my engagement with my fiancée after she requested some space to reconnect with her ex. I ended up selling our house and disappearing. Hey everyone. After what feels like an eternity, I, 7, decided it was time to share what's been going on with me lately. Here's the truth. Until recently, I truly thought I was about to marry the love of my life, Tessa. We had been together for 4 years, and for the most part, I believed we were strong. But now, I sit here questioning why I didn't see this coming sooner. Tessa and I crossed paths at a birthday party where we were introduced by a mutual friend. She was funny, self-assured, and had a straightforward attitude that I appreciated. I'd dated before, but no one clicked with me the way she did. We quickly hit it off and moved in together after a year. It felt natural, as if we were both aligned in our thoughts about careers, marriage, and eventually starting a family. She was a freelance graphic designer, and I worked as a project manager in a tech company, so our schedules were quite similar. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was pleasant. We'd been talking about getting married for a while, but it wasn't until last year that I popped the question. Nothing extravagant, just a quiet dinner at home. Tessa seemed overjoyed, crying, hugging me, and agreeing. That evening, we began to envision our future: a fall wedding, a small guest list, and a cozy lakeside venue. It felt like everything was falling into place. Or so I thought. The first signs of trouble were small and subtle, tiny flaws that I ignored because I didn't want to overthink things. For instance, Tessa's excitement for wedding planning faded after a few months. She was all in at first, sharing Pinterest boards, browsing wedding dresses, and asking for my preferences on details like flowers for the centerpieces. But then, it just stopped. I'd ask her questions, like if she'd picked her bridesmaids, and she'd shrug it off. "Not yet, still thinking," she'd say. The same thing happened with her dress, cake, and music. Every decision we had been so enthusiastic about became something she wanted to put off. "There's still time," she'd say. The wedding started to feel like an afterthought. I convinced myself it was just the stress of planning. After all, Tessa had a lot going on at work. I thought she'd snap out of it. What I didn't realize was that her lack of enthusiasm wasn't about the wedding itself. It was about us. Then, the real wake-up call came one evening while we were out with friends. Someone suggested a silly TikTok game, the kind where you have to answer personal questions while keeping a straight face. Everything was going fine until someone asked, if you could relive one relationship, which one would it be? Without thinking, Tessa blurted out, "Oh, probably Dylan." Just like that, Dylan, her college ex, the one who had cheated on her. The room went dead silent. She laughed awkwardly and tried to backtrack. I mean, not that I want to, it's just he's a significant part of my past. I wanted to confront her right there, but since we were with friends, I let it go. Later, when we were alone, I asked her, "What was it about Dylan? Why would you want to revisit that relationship?" She brushed it off. "It was just a silly game, Liam. Don't take it so seriously," she said, trying to change the subject. I didn't press her, didn't want to start a fight over something trivial, but deep down, it bothered me. After that, her behavior became more obvious. She was on her phone constantly, smiling at texts with a secretive grin. She started making vague excuses about why she couldn't hang out or would cancel plans last minute. "Sorry, I have too much work," or "I promised my mom I'd visit this weekend." Her excuses weren't anything too suspicious on their own, but they were starting to pile up. It seemed like I was becoming less of a priority. Then came the Friday night that changed everything. I got home from work early, hoping to spend a quiet evening with Tessa. I imagined we'd order dinner and watch something together. But when I walked in, the atmosphere was strange. She was sitting on the couch, staring at her laptop without focus. "Hey, I'm home," I said, trying to break the awkward tension. "You're early?" she responded, as if that were a bad thing. I shrugged it off and went to the kitchen to start dinner, but the silence in the house was deafening. Usually, she'd ask how my day was or share something from hers, but tonight, nothing. Finally, I looked around and asked, "Is everything okay?" She closed her laptop and looked at me. "Actually, there's something I need to tell you." My stomach dropped. You know that feeling when you sense something terrible is coming but can't stop it? That was me, standing there like a fool, spatula in hand. I sat down, bracing myself. What's going on? I asked. She paused, trying to find the right words, and then just said it. I've been thinking about us and about Dylan. I nearly laughed. Dylan? Are you serious? What about him? She bit her lip, not meeting my gaze. I think I need some time to figure things out. I want to take a break and see if there's still something with him. I couldn't believe my ears. You want a break to date your ex? Are you out of your mind? Tessa, we're engaged. It's not like that, she quickly replied, trying to explain. I just need to know if I'm making the right choice with you. And if it doesn't work out, I promise I'll come back. That's when I realized how bold she was. She truly thought I would sit around waiting for her to decide whether I was good enough. Something in me shifted. I didn't shout or lose control. I just sat there, stunned, wondering how I hadn't seen this coming. After a moment, I asked, "So what does this break mean to you?" Her voice was calm, but I could hear the rehearsed nature of her words. I think we need some space to figure things out. I'll take time to see if my feelings for Dylan are real, and you can think about us too. I couldn't believe her audacity. Wait, I said, leaning in. You want to date your ex, but I need to reflect on us? What kind of backwards thinking is that? She looked at me as if I were the one being unreasonable. It's not about you doing something wrong, Liam. It's about me figuring out what I need. It was clear she had rehearsed this moment, how she spoke, how she avoided my eyes. It seemed as though she had already made up her mind that this would happen, and she merely wanted me to accept it. You know, this might sound insane, right? I muttered. You don't just put your fiancé on pause while you go play What If with some guy who treats you like trash. Her face tightened, and for the first time, I realized how determined she could be. I'm not asking for permission, Liam. I'm telling you what I need. That hit differently. It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was anger. I stood up and began pacing, trying to calm myself. So, Tessa, you're just going to pack a bag and head over to Dylan's? Is that your big plan? No, she insisted. It's not like that. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I need clarity before we move forward. I owe it to myself to make sure I'm making the right decision. You owe it to yourself? I asked, laughing bitterly. What about what you owe me? We're engaged, Tessa. We're supposed to be building a life together, and now you're telling me you need to test drive your ex to see if I'm good enough? I never said you weren't good enough, she replied, her voice rising. But if we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, I have to be certain, and right now, I'm not. That was it. She wasn't just unsure about us. She was uncertain about me. Even after 4 years together and all our plans, she still wasn't sure. The realization hit me all at once. She hadn't realized how painful and foolish her request was. She thought this was reasonable, that I would just sit here while she figured out whatever nonsense was going through her mind. I stopped pacing and looked at her. Really looked at her. You know what? Sure, I said, my tone flat. Take your break. She blinked, surprised by my quick agreement. Liam, I'm not trying to hurt you. I need space to figure things out. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. All right, if that's what you need. She paused, as if expecting me to argue or beg for her to stay, but when I didn't, she stood up, grabbed her laptop, and murmured, I'll stay at my mom's for a bit. This isn't forever. We'll talk once I've had some time, okay? Okay, I replied simply. She looked at me, unsure how to respond, then disappeared into the bedroom. I could hear her moving around, packing a bag. I stayed calm on the couch, but my mind was already racing. If she really wanted a break, fine, let her have it. A few minutes later, I heard the front door close. She was gone. Perhaps she thought she'd left me here, waiting and worrying. She had no idea that I wasn't going to sit around and do nothing. She could have her fantasy, but I had my own plans. I'll give an update once I've set some things in motion. This is not going to end the way she expects. Update 1. Thank you for your feedback and suggestions on my last post. A lot has happened this week, and I'd like to share how things are going. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone in this community for their wonderful support. Many of you mentioned that I shouldn't just sit around waiting, and you were right. I've been busy setting things in motion. First, I called my buddy Noah. He's been my best friend since college, and he's not the type to sugarcoat things. After hearing the full story, he brought over pizza, and we spent the entire night scheming. Dude, You realize she's going to try to come back once things don't work out with Dylan, right? Noah said. He was right, of course. The more we talked, the clearer it became that I needed to take action. This wasn't about revenge. It was about taking back control of my life. I started with the house. Tessa seems to forget that it's entirely in my name. She loves to act like it's our home, constantly talking about the curtains and paint colors she picked. Yet I'm the one who pays the mortgage. I called a realtor first thing Monday morning. The realtor came by to assess the property, and we decided to list it immediately. The market in our neighborhood is hot, and we already have several interested buyers. Tessa has no idea. She probably thinks I'm still sitting here in our shared home, waiting for her to sort out her feelings. Next, I began to gradually remove her from my life. You know those live, laugh, love signs she insisted on hanging up? Gone. Did she really need those beautiful throw pillows? Donated. Her clothing and personal items she left behind? I carefully packed them up. But this is where I got strategic. Instead of just dropping off her things at her mom's house or having her pick them up, I hired a moving company. They delivered everything to her mom's place and left a note. Here's your stuff. Good luck with Dylan. Some of you might think this is petty, but I disagree. I'm not being vengeful. I'm being efficient. She wanted space to think things over? Well, she's got it, literally. The most fascinating part came when our mutual friends started asking questions. Instead of playing the victim or slandering her, I simply told the truth. Tessa decided she needed to explore things with her ex before committing to marriage. I decided I deserved better than being someone's backup plan. It's amazing how quickly the story changes when you don't try to control it. I've also been making moves at work. I applied for a position at our West Coast office, one I'd been considering for a while. If the house sells, which seems likely, and I get the job, I'll be starting fresh on the other side of the country. Tessa has tried to contact me several times this week. First, with lighthearted texts like, "Hope you're doing okay," then more concerned messages when she realized I wasn't just waiting around. Yesterday, she was in a panic when her mom told her the boxes had been delivered. "What are you doing? Why are you acting like this is over?" I kept my response simple. Because it is, Tessa. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. She started crying, saying she just wanted time to figure things out and that I was being too hasty, that this wasn't what she meant when she asked for a break. "What did you expect?" I replied. I confronted her and asked, "Do you expect me to just sit here like a loyal dog while you rekindle things with your ex? That's not how it works." But then I wondered, what if I realize you're the one I actually want? She was crying. I replied, "Well, then you'll have learned a valuable lesson about not taking people for granted," before hanging up. The strange part is I wasn't angry anymore. Instead, I felt free. Every box I packed, every move I made, felt like I was reclaiming pieces of myself I hadn't even realized I lost. Noah dropped by again yesterday to help with the move, and he noticed the shift. "You seem different," he said. I nodded. "Yeah, I am." When Tessa first told me she wanted to pursue things with Dylan, I felt like my entire world was crumbling. But now, I see that it wasn't my world falling apart, but rather the illusion I had been living in finally crumbling. I've got a lot going on, but I'll save that for the next update. For now, let me just say this. Sometimes the best way to respond to someone treating you like an option is to completely remove yourself from their options. Stay tuned. This isn't over yet. I have a feeling Tessa's break to sort things out won't go quite as she planned. Update 2. I really appreciate all the feedback on my last update. Things have escalated quickly, and I want to fill you in on how things have unfolded. Remember when I mentioned applying for the West Coast job? Well, I got it. The timing couldn't be more perfect. The house is under contract and set to close next month, but that's just the beginning. What's even more interesting is how Tessa's relationship with Dylan is unfolding. Through some mutual connections, I found out that their rekindled passion isn't exactly the fairy tale she envisioned. Apparently, after 4 years, Dylan is still the same untrustworthy guy who cheated on her in college. But here's where it gets good. Tessa has been trying to manage her image on social media. She's been posting vague, motivational quotes about self-discovery and following your heart. So I decided to play the same game, but with a twist. I shared a simple post about my life. Excited to announce I've accepted a position in San Francisco. Sometimes when one door closes, better ones open. Looking forward to this new chapter. The comments started rolling in. People congratulating me, asking about the move, and of course, wondering about Tessa. I kept my answers honest and straightforward. We're no longer together. She wanted to explore other options, so I'm exploring mine too. This kicked off a whole chain of reactions in our social circle. Those friends who were unsure about the situation began to see me handling things with grace, while Tessa kept posting cryptic relationship quotes. The vibe in our circle completely shifted. Then came the professional fallout. Tessa's freelance design work relies heavily on referrals and networking. Sarah, a mutual contact in the tech field, reached out to me. "I need to know what happened," she said over coffee. "Tessa's telling people you're just taking time apart to grow, but something feels off." I showed Sarah Tessa's note about wanting to date Dylan. Sarah's face said it all. She didn't buy it. By the end of the week, several of Tessa's clients had pulled back their projects. Not because I badmouthed her, but because, let's face it, who wants to work with someone who can't commit? Tessa felt the change. Her texts started pouring in more often, and they were more desperate. "Why are you telling people about Dylan? You're ruining my reputation." I answered, "You got what you wanted. Time and space. How I spend mine is no longer your concern." Then came the turning point. Dylan, in his infinite wisdom, posted a picture of them together at the restaurant where Tessa and I had our first date. It was clear she was trying to relive our history with him. It was both sad and absurd. The post didn't last long, but the damage was done. Our friends saw it, and the few remaining people who supported Tessa's Finding Myself story lost all respect for her. Even her sister reached out to me. "I'm so sorry for how she's handling this. You deserve better." And here's the best part. I didn't need to get revenge. I just lived my life honestly, while Tessa tried to play both sides. The truth eventually comes out. Yesterday, she came to my office, tears in her eyes. "I made a huge mistake," she cried. "I was scared of commitment. I thought I needed to see if something better was out there. But I was wrong. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." I looked at her calmly. "No, Tessa. The best thing that ever happened to me was you showing your true colors before we got married." She tried to argue, saying we could fix things, that she'd go to counseling and earn back my trust. I shook my head. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about Dylan. This is about you thinking you could keep me as a backup while you explored your options. That's not love. That's convenience." She left my office in tears, but I felt lighter than ever. The house closes next week, the majority of my stuff is packed, and my new life in San Francisco starts next month. The funny thing is, some people think I'm being too harsh. Everyone makes mistakes, they say. But this wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Every time she texted Dylan, every time she lied about where she was, every time she planned to put our relationship on hold, it was a choice. I'll update you again once the move is complete. For now, let me leave you with this. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, but getting better. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Update 3. Thank you for following my journey. This will be my final update, and I have some exciting news to share. San Francisco is everything I hoped for and more. I had imagined that my new apartment would offer a breathtaking view of the bay, and the tech environment here is outstanding. My new colleagues at the office are incredible, and it's refreshing to be surrounded by people who prioritize progress and innovation instead of drama. But first, let me update you on how things concluded back home. The sale went smoothly, and the house actually sold for more than the asking price. It was fascinating to see Tessa's reaction after hearing it from mutual acquaintances. She didn't believe I had sold the house until she drove by and saw the new owners moving in. Here's where it gets interesting. Remember Dylan? He reached out to me of all people. He sent me a lengthy message explaining that he never intended to cause any issues and that Tessa had contacted him first, months before, when she requested the break. Tessa had been planning her little adventure for quite a while, messaging Dylan for months and carefully laying the groundwork for her backup plan. What's with the irony? Dylan ended their relationship because, as he put it If she could do that to me, she could do it to anyone. Tessa's professional fallout has been substantial. Remember the clients she had lined up? Most of them found other designers, not because I said anything, but because word spreads in the industry. One of her biggest clients even contacted me. They mentioned that they had heard about the engagement and asked if I knew any reliable designers. I recommended a talented friend of mine, and she ended up with the contract. Karma, I guess. Tessa's meltdown on social media has been something to witness. It started with the sorrowful quotes about losing your partner, followed by angry posts about toxic people who can't handle growth. Finally, she made desperate attempts to prove to everyone how happy she was. The last one was particularly interesting. She wrote about starting her own design firm, and 3 days later, she began sending out job applications. Last week, her sister reached out to me again. Tessa has apparently been staying with their parents, saying she needs time to heal from our separation. Her sister's exact words were, "She really thought you'd wait for her when you sold the house and moved." That shattered her fantasy. The most reassuring moment occurred during a video call with our old friend group. They were telling me about the local gossip, and someone mentioned seeing Tessa at a coffee shop, explaining to a potential client why her portfolio website was down. Apparently, she forgot I was the one who had set it up and maintained it. She couldn't figure out how to restore her hosting membership after it expired. Not my concern anymore. My new life here is falling into place nicely. I've joined a local rock climbing club, started taking Spanish lessons, and even adopted a dog from a local shelter. His name is Zeus, and he's a better companion than my ex-fiancé. The tech community here is incredibly welcoming. Last week, I was invited to speak at a developer conference, something that never would have happened if I had stayed at home. It's amazing what you can achieve when you're not carrying dead weight. I had one final interaction with Tessa. She sent me an email asking for some old photos from our shared cloud storage. I had already downloaded what I wanted and canceled the account weeks ago. Her email said, "I know you're trying to erase me from your life, but you can't just delete our memories. Those 4 years meant something." My reply was simple. You're right. Those years taught me what I don't want in a partner. Thanks for the lesson. Some mutual acquaintances think I'm being too harsh and should be more understanding of her confusion. However, that wasn't a moment of confusion. It was a calculated move to keep me as a backup while she pursued what she believed was a better option. The most valuable lesson I've learned from all of this is that sometimes the worst things that happen to you lead to the best outcomes. If Tessa hadn't revealed her true nature, I could have married her, only to discover her true self years later, possibly with kids involved. Instead, I'm in a beautiful city with a great job, making new friends, and feeling hopeful about the future. The pain of betrayal has been replaced with gratitude for the bullet I dodged. Thanks to everyone who followed this journey and offered advice. Your support helped me stay strong when I might have wavered. And for anyone going through something similar, know this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't wait around for them to change their mind about you. Life is too short to be someone's backup plan. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and make things better for yourself. That's all for now, guys. This chapter of my life is officially over, and I couldn't be more excited to start the next one. Take care, and thank you for everything. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.